So thanks a million for choosing our workshop. We're delighted to have been put on the main stage, so thank you all very much for that. We're going to talk to you about ROPO, kind of following on from the talk that Al and Roisin were giving this morning. I'm Rob, I'm client lead at Wolfgang Digital. Over here is Robbie, he's also from Wolfgang Digital. He's one of our top PPC specialists. And this is Monica, who's from DID Electrical. So Monica is one of our clients. And yeah, we're going to take you through kind of a case study we did alongside with DID in terms of trying to capture the impact of what you're doing online, your website, what impact that has on your offline sales. So I'll pass you over to Monica now just to give you a bit of background on DID and set a bit of context for the talk.
All right, thanks Rob. Can you hear me well? Yep. Perfect. Just a sec. Yeah. This or this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There it is. So just a few words before Rob starts, just to set the scene to it. So most of you might know DID Electrical. We're a multi-channel retailer. We have 23 stores around Ireland. As you would know, we'd be traditionally brick and mortar store retail. So the mindset within the company would be from both the senior management and all the staff within the company would have been in the past very traditional store-based. So you can see we're going quickly through the slides. If we go back to the stores, yeah. So we have the 23 physical stores around Ireland and a website. And in the past, previously, the website would have been seen as just one of the stores. So basically, looking at the budgets, you would be compared to one of the stores. Looking at your revenue, you would be measured off on the online revenue. So the big thing for us, for the company to better understand the impact of all digital activity, always was to the measurement, always to show the results, because we always optimized for the overall gain for the company, for every customer, not just the online customer that converts online, but also the customer that researches. We know all the research that tells us that people always research online, buy in store. But to change that mindset within the company, we couldn't just say, well, look, there's a research. We know that it works that way. We always looked at ways to measure it and to show tangible results so that we could get, basically, so we could make our website and all the digital channels work better for everybody, every single customer, and return better return on investment. So you'd all know that if you are in a multi-channel retail, you'll know that the return on the online revenue only would be much smaller than your overall return that you can generate for the company itself. So we're always on the lookout for the measurements, and the guys will take you through more details on how that can be achieved, and a couple of different ways, and also what specifically we used in the DID Electrical.
Thanks, Monica. So yeah, like this was kind of the challenges that Monica and the team set us when we started, was to take that mindset within DID, help them move the dial to going from kind of competing with their offline stores to being kind of a hub around which all the other stores have kind of use it as a resource, kind of sit around it and get the benefits of what's being done online. So what we really wanted to look at was trying to get a bit of visibility on the ROPO side of things. So like Alan and Roisin talked about this earlier, the research offline, purchase online effect. And it's something that's the big blind spot for all kind of digital. Like, we were always hearing digital's fully measurable. It's not really true. This has been a big blind spot for us for a long time. So this was something that we really, really wanted to get after. And it's not something that we were able to kind of pull our own metrics in. But we knew that there were kind of studies out there like that had metrics. Like 88% of shoppers search before they purchase offline. So they go online, they purchase offline. Like, those metrics are out there. But to actually, it's very different to have a metric from a study and to actually go out and find out what that impact looks like for your own business. So that's what we really wanted to do. We knew that, like, it was really the tip of the iceberg. What we were seeing from our online analytics, the likes of Google Analytics, even our Google AdWords stats, was just the tip of the iceberg because it was only telling us what was online. So we went after the ROPO. One thing we were acutely aware of, particularly for the guys in DID, is that the likes of a big, lovely widescreen TV, like, it's a big traffic driver for the DID website, and a lot of people are searching around, a lot of people clicking on ads, but people don't buy big flat screen TVs online because they want to go in, they want to see the TV, they want to see what the picture quality is like, they want to see how big it actually is, will it fit in my living room, before they buy it. So these kind of really high value products are the ones where people will actually go in store to make the purchase because it's such a big investment. They want to make sure they're making the right decision. So the first kind of method we tested was inspired by John Lennon. It's not this John Lennon, it's this John Lennon. So this is John Lennon. He works on our AdWords team. It's his real name. And John came up with this really, really smart ROPO metric, and he was actually the one who kind of got us thinking on this kind of track. And what John did, he had a client who only had kind of 1 or 2 stores throughout the country, and he decided that he was going to dig in using the data that he already had. And he was going to use that data to try and work out an estimated ROPO effect for that particular client. So he went into Google AdWords. He was using location extensions for the 2 physical stores he had. And he was looking at the stats for how people behaved depending on how far away from the store they were. And what he was particularly interested in was this stat, the conversion rate. So you can see there that conversion rate tends to get higher the further away you are from the shop. So if you're within 700 meters of the store, nobody purchases because these people are going in store. They're probably looking for directions. They might be looking for opening hours, and they're going in store. So what John noticed was that, like, the further you got away from the store, the higher the online conversion rate was. So what he did was he jumped into Google Analytics and found, took the top 30 locations in terms of traffic, in terms of revenue, and broke them out into kind of 7 segments of distance from the store, and looked at the things like sessions, revenue, e-commerce conversion rate, and came up with a nice data table there of these 7 segments. And again, you can see, with the exception of the first 2 segments, every time you move further away from the store, the online conversion rate gets higher. So you can see, like, right down the bottom, people who are within 10k of the store, they get conversion rates just below 1.5%, whereas people who are 150 kilometers away, it's over 4%. And, like, if you think about it, these people are people who are never gonna, like, you're not gonna get in your car and drive 150 kilometers to buy a TV. Just no one's gonna do that. So what John did was he took this data, graphed it up. You can see the nice curve there as we get further away from the store. The conversion rate gets higher. And we took the top conversion rate there for the 150 kilometer plus as our natural conversion rate. And we said, okay, so this is what it looks like. This is what conversion rate would look like if nobody was ROPOing. So everything above that line, above that conversion rate line, is essentially kind of our ROPO value. Those are the people who are, that's the gap where people are researching online but purchasing offline. So by taking the natural conversion rate, the natural online conversion rate, and comparing it to what the smallest one was, we think 20 kilometers. I'll come back to that figure in 1 second. But taking those 2 conversion rates and subtracting them, what he found was the estimated conversion rate for the ROPO side of things was 2.66%. And what that meant when he looked at the data was that for every one online sale generated by AdWords, there were 2 more generated for people within 20 kilometers. And people within 20 kilometers of the store actually made up 80% of the traffic. So that's a huge, huge segment. And it basically tripled our conversion rate. We're able to attribute 3 times more sales to these users. And that gives us a lot of really, really valuable data for that. Tried it with DID Electrical. My background's in engineering. I studied engineering in college. So I got my set square out, I got my protractor out, my compass out. got a big giant map of Ireland and spent ages trying to draw loads of different kind of cross-referenced maps where we were working out exactly how far each store was from the person who bought. It was impossible. Couldn't do it. It was too many stores. The data was too big. It wasn't practical to be doing this on a regular basis. So we decided we were going to have to try something else. And around about the same time we were trying this, the offline event tracking that was mentioned, the guys mentioned earlier, was launched. That was March 2017. And as the guys took you through earlier, what you can do is you can jump in, you can set an offline event up. In this case, we're setting up an offline conversions. If you were running like an in-store competition or something, you could use that data as well. But we wanted to, in this case, we were looking at the conversions. So we set up the offline purchase as an event on Facebook, and then uploaded the e-receipt data. So DID do a good job in store of when someone makes a purchase, particularly for the higher value purchases. The people who are working in store in DID will offer the customer an e-receipt. And when someone gets sent an e-receipt, this data is saved in a database, and we've got information on people's email addresses and the value of the order that they purchased. So we can upload this into Facebook then. And what we found was that people who were viewing Facebook ads were going on and they were buying that big TV. They were going on and they were coming in store and they were buying the big, really valuable products. So the results that we found from doing that was that for every €1 that Facebook was generating online, there was another €5 being generated offline. So that's 6 times your return on your ad spend there if you're looking at offline as well as online, which is a really, really valuable metric when you're trying to work out your marketing budgets. As the guy spoke earlier, like Google and Facebook are always like they've been competing for a long time in terms of innovations, and what tends to happen is one of them innovates and the other one copies, and one of them innovates and the other one copies. Google have announced that they're going to be releasing their own version of Facebook's offline event tracking. They haven't really told us when yet. Hopefully it's going to be soon, but it's something that hasn't been available to us. So we had to kind of think outside the box and work out a way we could see the impact of, say, our Google AdWords campaigns, for example, or even the website as a whole. How are we going to see how much the website is actually driving? So I'm going to pass you on to Robbie now, who's going to take you through how we looked at that from a Google point of view.
Cheers. Thanks, Rob. I know this is ROPO with Rob and Robbie. I'm Robbie. The E stands for e-commerce. Don't worry, it won't get any more cringy than that. So my role would be exclusively PPC. So obviously Monica's interest here for DID. She wants to see kind of multi-channel overall success. Rob is in kind of client services, so he wants to see pretty much the same. From a purely PPC standpoint, when I see Facebook kind of so successfully roll out something like their offline conversion tracking, it is a bit sickening because you do want the same capability on AdWords. So back in March when this came from Facebook, we had to kind of think, well, from Monica's point of view, from the guys in DID, that they're suddenly equipped with all this great data on Facebook, and it's not there for AdWords. And you can assume that, well, AdWords is probably driving some ROPO, but no one wants to operate on probably. So we set about kind of coming up with like our very own homemade solution. As Rob said, and as Alan Rochian said earlier, that Google will copy this, they will mimic this, there will be a kind of a high quality offline conversion tracking function rolled out soon, so they say, but knowing Google, that will probably be in the US only, in beta mode, and only for select accounts. So by the time it reaches everyone in this room, for example, there's months, possibly years of data gone. So I'm just going to take you through the process now that we arrive to kind of measure ROPO from other channels. So this is the DID e-receipt. So e-receipt were quite crucial to the Facebook side of things, and we knew that would be very much the same with AdWords. So with the e-receipts already in place, we designed a process to show ROPO from other channels. The beauty of this is if there is anyone who already their stores already issue e-receipts, the rest of this is actually just simple Google Analytics stuff. It's not complex. The tricky part here is really having your cashiers and your checkout system equipped to issue e-receipts, and the rest of it is actually pretty much standard Google Analytics stuff. So we can see here that after making a purchase, the DID cashiers will ask the customer if they want an e-receipt. I'm sure we've all been asked at some stage in the other if we would want one. The beauty is that with the higher value products, you're probably more likely to ask for an e-receipt. Like if you go buy a big, huge telly or washing machine or whichever from DID, you are that bit more likely to ask for an e-receipt. And in general with ROPO, you'd expect that the people who are researching offline and then researching online and then purchasing in store are much more likely to do that for high value products. So they want to see that big television. They want to be able to taste it before they actually buy it. So this is the e-receipt that goes out to people. The crucial part of the e-receipt here is please share your experience with us. So you see the red line there. Encouraging users to click through to a link on the website, and the carrot or the incentive is that the user is asked to give their feedback, but also you can enter a competition to win a €50 voucher, and that part is critical. You're kind of adopting an email marketing standpoint with it, that you do want to see a strong click-through rate on this, because this is how we're going to measure ROPO, by getting people who have bought to follow this link. The crucial thing about the link is that it is a unique URL. It can't be found anywhere else. It can't be navigated to within the site. It's not on the drop down. So we know that the people who visit this URL are people who have bought something in store and who have received this email. And the purpose of the competition is to encourage click-through rate, to get people to land on the site. And here we see the landing page that they're brought to. So, leave feedback, which is hopefully positive, Monica, and then to enter a competition. But from myself and Rob's point of view, from the marketing point of view, whether or not the user actually leaves feedback or engages us in competition doesn't really matter. The critical action has taken place. They've went from their emailed e-receipt onto the website, and that's where we step in. So in Google Analytics, and again, this is kind of a pretty basic thing within Google Analytics. So once that e-receipt functionality is there, we're 95% of the way towards measuring this. So within Google Analytics, we are tracking that e-receipt URL as a goal. So we have blacked it out there just because we don't trust you guys not to skew up all the statistics by visiting the page. But yeah, we're tracking this as a goal, and tracking it as a goal will give us the capability to find just insights and the data behind the people who visit the page. And yeah, so not to get into a kind of a how-to element, but I've just demonstrated where we can find this in analytics, because just to stress that this is actually kind of straightforward stuff once we're beyond the e-receipts. So this is a report in analytics called the top conversion paths. So the user journey, essentially. So what we want to do is isolate the user journey for everyone who landed on the e-receipt page. So we quickly just filter out all the irrelevant goals with only goal 12, the relevant e-receipt goal tracked. And this is what it shows us. So we're literally looking here at the journeys the customer took to get to that e-receipt page. So you notice that every single one of them ends in direct, because direct is referring to that last point of entry to the e-receipt page when the user clicked on the link within the e-receipt. So it's really the first visit. So Google Analytics can see through the cookies that, to take the top one as an example, 14 people converted who had actually previously clicked on a PPC ad. And you see the organic listings there too. So we can actually get the amount of conversions in terms of the quantity of conversions of people who had visited the site before they went in store, made their purchase, got their e-receipt, and then clicked through to the page. And we do have, for any Father Ted fans here, this isn't an unintentional black smudge. It will become apparent why it's there at the moment. So yeah, in case that was maybe a little bit, I know, too much or too analytics, we're just going to quickly kind of summarize the journey that people are taking place and what we're doing. So the user journey will start off with a visit to the website, as we can see there. They will then go to one of the 23 stores around the country to make their purchase. And yeah, they will then, at the point of sale, the cashier will ask them, would you like an e-receipt? And if so, they'll receive this, and we have the carrot there of the competition. They click through, and then this is really the critical action that they've clicked through, so we can capture that information. Our black smudge is now functional, because we've just removed the URL there, but with the tracking on that page, we can collect the data of all those people who visited it, and then we can use that data to basically look at the results to see what sources were driving ROPO conversions. And yet, just to look at the results here, so the pie chart you're seeing is essentially all the visits to that e-receipt page. So the first thing you'll probably notice is the big chunk of 60%. That's basically the sales that we can't necessarily attribute to an online source. So the remaining 40%, you'll notice the different colors. That's going to be divisions of AdWords, organic, social, email, whichever channels are driving revenue. So through this method, what we were able to see that at least 40% of online purchases occurred after someone had been on the website. So they had ROPO, they'd researched offline and purchased offline. And I say at least 40% because of the remaining 60%, unfortunately, there's no real way to know, for example, if someone had research on their desktop but opened the e-receipt on a mobile device, that cross-device tracking just isn't quite there. So that 40% figure, it is very much at least 40%. The likelihood is that it's actually higher. And yet, from reviewing the results, we could see that at least 1 in every 8 offline purchases had occurred after someone had clicked an AdWords ad, either at the start or the end of their journey. So we're not kind of counting those middle clicks where someone found it organically, then clicked an ad, and then came back organically. This is just first and last click attribution. So 12.5% essentially of people. And yet we were able to determine that for every €1 generated in online revenue through AdWords, we could actually see that offline sales, AdWords was generating €6. So before this was set up, we could only really see, I guess, the first half of that sentence there. And yeah, going back to what Rob had said about the kind of likelihood of, the type of products that people are going to be researching online but purchasing in person, like they're likely to be in DID's case, expensive televisions, washing machines, the higher order value, and that really played out. We saw that the AOV from ROPO was 137% higher than just the normal online sales. And yeah, we're going to come full circle here. So I'm going to bring back Monica here, who's just going to explain how this kind of data that we were able to show her affected the internal marketing decisions.
Thanks, Robbie. Now, so just to summarize, as I was saying previously, all that we really wanted to do is to measure that offline effect, to get the insights on the research online, purchase offline, to help us fully understand the customer journey, to help us optimize our marketing activity to best serve the customers and to make the most, get the best returns for the company. So even though the measuring journey that we just showed you, it's only a first step. We're really waiting for Google to present, to give a response to Facebook's tracking, to give us a full measurement possibilities. That was only based. You can imagine that it's only based on a small percentage of our customers because only certain customers would have opted in for the receipt. Another thing is that only customers that purchase an item of value over €100 are asked for the email for e-receipt. Then out of those who actually received the e-receipt, only part of them would have clicked on the link. Yet, from the little sample of the data we had, we were able to get the results that Robbie has just presented. We were able to better understand the percentage of customers that have previously interacted not only with the website, but with all the digital channels that Wolfgang managed for us. And that only that little sample allowed us to readjust our marketing budgets and basically make sure that we invest smarter this year, that we move a bigger portion of the overall marketing budgets to the digital activity that we know now have real results showing that bring great return on the investment. So I'd like to encourage every single one of you that is a multi-channel retailer to try set up a simple tracking like that, and this way you can better spend your marketing budgets basically, and you can make more money for the company. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Monica. It's kind of like musical chairs up here. We keep swapping each one we're sitting on every time. So I'm just going to quickly take you through just our key takeaways from that, because I know there was a lot of info thrown in your faces there. So just kind of 5 key takeaways out of it. So firstly, like, your online marketing is impacting your offline sales. Like, that is a fact. Like, hopefully we've shown it, but I'm sure everyone's already aware that it is. Even if you can't measure it, it is having an impact. So don't underestimate it. Even if you can't measure it exactly, you know that if you have offline stores as well, it definitely is impacting it. So don't forget that when you're looking at the power of online. So your website should be viewed as a hub as well. Like, one of the original challenge we were set was to help the team internally in DID to stop viewing the website as a competitor. Like, a lot of the general managers and a lot of the stores, and this is across loads of our clients, would view the website as a bit of a competitor. Like, when there's a sale on the website, they feel they're taking sales away from the stores themselves. But it should really be viewed as a hub and a resource that the stores can use in order to drive footfall, drive sales, particularly for those high value products. So that's how the website should be viewed, in our opinion. Don't forget about the ROPO effect when you're allocating marketing budgets either. Like, because we always say in digital, we've got a real tendency to say, like, we're full visibility on everything. We've absolutely shown you exactly what's happening, and it's not. To the extent we're underselling ourselves. We're so focused on data that when we don't have data, we're kind of underselling ourselves in a way that, say, traditional marketers, for example, have been very good at not underselling themselves. So when you are looking at that split, don't underestimate the ROPO value of what you're doing online. E-receipts are a great source of this data. Like, this was brilliant for us having those e-receipts, because we could literally upload to the likes of Facebook, like upload the email and the revenue that was generated, and then we could work out kind of things like that average order value figure and things like that. So, like, if you can implement e-receipts, there is, I'm sure, a prohibitive cost to setting that up for a lot of retailers, but if possible, it's something that is definitely worth looking into, and it'll give you a lot of really, really useful data for all of your marketing channels. And finally, if you're not in a position to implement e-receipts, there's other ways to make these sort of estimates. And everything we've shown you here at the end of the day are estimates, but they're smart estimates, and they're very robust in their methodology. So all you've got to do is look at the data that you do have at the moment and try to think of a smart way to use this data to measure this. Not everyone's going to have e-receipts and have this great bank of data, but based on the data you do have in your analytics, your Google AdWords, and your Facebook, you're going to be able to pull insights that'll help you with the ROPO. So that's it from us. If there's any questions from anybody, please feel free to shoot them over to us. Yeah.
Just on the e-receipts and collecting data at the cash point in a store, how do you get around under 18s coming in and buying stuff? Especially in an electrical store. I know my teenage son loves his gadgets and stuff. I know you're saying you're only collecting from over €100, but just if people are looking at implementing e-receipts as a way of capturing that data, how do you stay safe with marketing to under 18s?
Okay, so I have another one here. So we wouldn't be collecting that the emails from under 18s at all in the store. Now, mostly our customers would have been, the demographics would be slightly higher. But as I say, there might be gadgets purchased, and yeah, so then it's up to the staff on the shop floor not to collect those emails, basically.
Yeah, one thing I think it's important to point out as well, particularly with like the GDPR talks that were on earlier as well, is that we're not actually using any of this data for marketing purposes. We're not marketing to these people at all. We're just using them for analytics purposes, to attribute a return on your ad spend. So there's not actually any marketing being done as such with this data. So from that point of view, we're not actually using that data for marketing purposes.
Just in relation to the email, you have to click on the link in order to, close the gap and say these people researched online to buy offline. Would it be better if in store the person filling in the e-receipt details also activated that link, so you'd be covering all the sales then? You wouldn't, I know I bought a Hoover on DID recently and I got an e-receipt, but I didn't enter that competition. It would have been over €100, so I just think that way it might capture everyone.
Do you mean that the employee in store? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue with that is that if the employee does that, so they'd be doing it on their computer in the store. So the journey that Robbie spoke about wouldn't be the whole way across, because they would be coming in as a new visitor, or they'd probably be coming in as someone who'd visited the DID website hundreds of times a day. So we do need the customer to do it themselves, and ideally to do it on the same device that they made the purchase on, or that they did their research on. Because as Robbie mentioned, if someone does research on their phone but then goes back and clicks on a link, that's going to come into that kind of unknown 60% that we're just not sure on. So we feel slightly underestimating that for that reason. But then I suppose we kind of figured that everything kind of evens out to a certain extent. So yeah, like we kind of do need the customer to click on that link. Unfortunately, we can't get the employees to do it. That would be ideal.
Thanks very much.
When choosing or setting up the campaign type, did you also consider or even use these local inventory ads?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Local inventory ads, I think via Google Shopping.
Yeah, so that I think is a good next step. It's like there's a couple of things that we want to do to take this to the next level for these campaigns. This was kind of a first test of this ROPO metric. So there are a few things and like Google, I think when Google bring in this kind of their version of Facebook events and also their Google attribution, which is coming out this year as well, all these things will be much easier to tie together, and the likes of local inventory ads as well. Google actually have a store visits beta out in the UK at the moment, but it's not available to us in Ireland, unfortunately. I think I hear the bell down the back. So if there are any more questions, sure, we're at the stand, so you can grab us at the end. But thanks a million for coming, everybody. Appreciate it.